Commander Jake Morrison felt his stomach twist as he looked out at the massive space station floating in the darkness ahead. The thing was huge, bigger than any city he had ever seen on Earth. Its walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft blue light, and strange towers reached out from its center like the arms of a giant spider. This was where the Galactic Council met, and after 30 years of asking, they had finally agreed to see the humans. Jake turned to look at his team. Dr. Lisa Parker was checking her notes for the 100th time. She was Earth's best scientist when it came to alien life, and she looked nervous. Next to her, Engineer Pete Collins was staring at the station with wide eyes, probably trying to figure out how it worked. Navigation Officer Amy Torres stood by the window, her face calm but her hands pressed tight against her sides. "This is it," Jake said quietly. "Remember, we're here to get Earth accepted into the Council. Be polite, but don't let them push us around." The ship docked with a soft bump. A few minutes later, an alien came aboard to guide them. He was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. His name was Kethver, and he was from a species called the Altarians. He looked at the humans the way someone might look at children, playing dress-up. "Welcome to Council Station," Kethver said in perfect English. "I will show you around before your meeting. The Council is very old and very wise. They have been watching over the galaxy for thousands of years." As they walked through the station's halls, Kethver pointed out statues and pictures on the walls. All of them showed the same thing: 12 different alien species standing together, looking proud and important. The pictures had words carved under them about something called the Great Awakening. "This is when our 12 species discovered faster-than-light travel at the same time," Kethver explained. "We all reached the stars together and formed the Council to keep peace in the galaxy." "It was 50,000 years ago," Lisa Parker frowned. "All 12 species discovered space travel at exactly the same time?" "That seems unlikely." Kethver's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "That is what happened. It was destiny. The 12 elder species were meant to guide the younger ones, like your people. They passed through rooms filled with amazing technology. Machines that seemed to be made of living crystal, computers that looked like they were grown instead of built, and weapons that hummed with power." Pete Collins kept trying to get closer to examine things, but Kethver always guided them away. "Your people are very new to space," Kethver said as they walked. "Only a few hundred years since you first left your planet. The Council remembers when you were still hitting rocks together to make fire." Amy Torres spoke up. "We've come pretty far in those few hundred years." "Yes, you have done well for such a young species," Kethver agreed, but his tone made it sound like he was talking to a clever pet. Finally, they reached the Council chamber. The room was enormous, with a high ceiling that seemed to go on forever. 12 huge chairs sat in a circle, each one designed for a different type of alien. The chair in the center was the biggest, made of the same glowing crystal as the station walls. The Council members were already waiting. Jake had seen pictures of them before, but seeing them in person was different. The Zephyrians looked like tall, elegant people made of living crystal. The Chronari were creatures of metal and stone with glowing red eyes. The Veilter seemed to be made of mist and starlight, barely solid at all. The other 9 species were just as strange and impressive. High Arbiter Zelana of the Zephyrians spoke first. Her voice rang like a bell through the chamber. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We have watched your species for some time. You have shown promise, but you are still very young." Jake stepped forward. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Earth requests full membership in the Galactic Council." Several of the Council members made sounds that might have been laughter. Solana raised one crystalline hand for silence. "Your request is, ambitious," she said, "but we understand your eagerness. The Council has decided to offer your species something special. We will grant you probationary membership." "What does that mean?" Lisa asked. "It means you will be allowed to participate in some Council activities, but with restrictions," Zelana explained. "You may not establish colonies outside your home system. You may not trade certain technologies with other species. You will be monitored at all times. This probationary period will last for 500 years. Pete Collins coughed. 500 years? That's longer than our entire recorded history. Time moves differently for species as old as ours, said Cronther of the Cronari, his voice like grinding stone. 500 years is nothing. If your species proves worthy, full membership may be considered then. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. What do we need to do to prove ourselves? Follow our rules. Learn from us? Show that you can be trusted with the responsibilities of galactic citizenship, Zelana said. Many young species have failed this test. We hope you will not. The meeting continued for another hour, but it was clear that the council had already made up their minds. They would allow humans to exist in space, but only barely. They would be watched, limited, and kept weak. The message was clear. Earth was nothing special, just another young species that needed to be controlled. As they walked back to their ship, Lisa kept looking around at the station's technology. Something was bothering her, Jake could tell. She was the smartest person he knew, and when she got that look on her face, it usually meant she had noticed something important. What is it? He asked quietly. I'm not sure yet, she said. But something doesn't add up. If these species have been in space for 50,000 years, their technology should be much more advanced than what I'm seeing. Back on their ship, the team sat around the conference table in silence. They had expected the council to be difficult, but this was worse than they had imagined. 500 years of being treated like children, watched and controlled by aliens who thought they were better than humans. We need to be careful, Jake said finally. They're not going to make this easy for us. There's something else, Lisa sighed. I've been thinking about what Kethver said. 12 species all discovering space travel at the same time. That's not how evolution works. That's not how technology develops. It's like they're all reading from the same script. Pete nodded, and some of their technology. I've seen designs like that before, in human research papers. Theoretical stuff that our scientists have been working on. Amy leaned forward. What are you saying? I'm saying we need to do some research of our own, Lisa said. Something is not right about the council's story. And if we're going to be stuck dealing with them for 500 years, we better figure out what it is. Jake looked out the window. At the Crystal Station one more time. The council thought they were so much better than humans, so much older and wiser. But something told him that the real story might be very different. Earth might be new to space, but that didn't mean they were new to everything. The ship turned away from the station and headed for home. They had a lot of work to do, and Jake had a feeling that what they found might change everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. 3 months after the meeting with the council, Dr. Lisa Parker was working late in her lab when she made a discovery that changed everything. She had been studying ice samples from Jupiter's moon Europa, looking for signs of ancient life. The samples came from deep ice layers that were thousands of years old. What she found should not have existed: human DNA, not just any human DNA, but genetic material that matched perfectly with modern humans. The problem was that these ice samples were from layers that formed 50,000 years ago, long before humans were supposed to have left Earth. Lisa stared at her computer screen, running the test again and again. Each time the results were the same. Human genetic material, perfectly preserved in ice that was older than human civilization. It made no sense. She called Jake Morrison immediately. Commander, I need you to see this. Can you come to the lab? Jake arrived 20 minutes later, still in his uniform from a late meeting. What's so important that it couldn't wait until morning? Lisa showed him the test results. Jake read them twice, then looked up at her with confusion. I don't understand. How can there be human DNA that's 50,000 years old? That's what I'm trying to figure out, Lisa said. Either our dating is wrong or humans were in space a lot earlier than we thought. Across the base, engineer Pete Collins was having his own strange night. He had been working on a broken alien ship that had been found drifting in space near Pluto. The ship was clearly from the Veilter, one of the council species. It had been damaged in what looked like a battle, and the council had given Earth permission to study it. Pete was trying to understand how the ship's computer worked when he noticed something odd. The core design was based on quantum processing principles that seemed familiar. He dug through his files and found what he was looking for. A research paper written by Dr. Henry Kim at MIT. 3 years ago, the alien computer was using the exact same design that Dr. Kim had proposed. Not similar, identical. Pete sat back in his chair, staring at the alien technology. How could a species that had been in space for thousands of years be using a design that a human had invented just 3 years ago? Unless they had stolen it, or unless Dr. Kim had somehow seen their technology first. But Pete knew Dr. Kim. He was a brilliant scientist who worked purely on theory. He had never seen alien technology in his life. His design had come from his own mind, his own research into quantum mechanics. The next morning, Jake called an emergency meeting. Lisa and Pete shared their discoveries with the team. Amy Torres listened carefully, then spoke up. "I've been working on something too," she said. "I've been checking the star charts that the council species gave us. They show the positions of stars as they would have appeared from their homeworlds throughout their history." She pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy. "The problem is, the star positions don't match what they should be if these species have really been in space for tens of thousands of years. The galaxy rotates, stars move. If you've been watching the sky for 50,000 years, you would know exactly where every star should be." Amy pointed to several inconsistencies in the data. "Their charts show star positions that are too recent. It's like they only started keeping records a few thousand years ago, not 50,000. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying they might be lying about how old their civilizations are," Amy said. Lisa nodded. "It would explain the genetic material I found. What if humans were in space 50,000 years ago? What if we were there first?" "But that's impossible," Pete said. "There's no record of advanced human civilization going back that far." "We would have found evidence, ruins, artifacts, something." "Maybe we have," Lisa said quietly. "Maybe we just haven't been looking in the right places." Over the next few weeks, the team began a secret investigation. They started with Earth's ancient sites, places where archaeologists had found unexplained artifacts or structures. Lisa led a team to Turkey, to an ancient site called Göbekli Tepe. The site was over 11,000 years old, built by people who were supposed to be simple hunter-gatherers. But the stonework was incredibly advanced, with precise carvings and massive pillars that would have required sophisticated tools to create. Lisa's team used ground-penetrating radar to scan the area around the known ruins. Deep underground, they found something that made Lisa's heart race. There was a chamber, sealed and hidden, that was even older than the stone circles above. It took them 2 weeks to dig down to the chamber. When they finally broke through, they found a room filled with technology that shouldn't exist. Devices that seemed to combine organic and mechanical parts, power sources that still worked after thousands of years, and most shocking of all, computers that looked almost identical to the alien systems Pete had been studying. The dating tests showed that the chamber was over 12,000 years old. But the technology inside was more advanced than anything the council species had shown them. And it was clearly built by humans. Lisa called Jake from the site. "Commander, you need to get down here. We found something that's going to change everything." Jake arrived the next day with Pete and Amy. They stood in the ancient chamber, looking at technology that their ancestors had built before the pyramids were even dreamed of. The implications were staggering. If humans built this 12,000 years ago, what happened to them? Amy asked. Pete was examining one of the devices. "This is human technology, but it's based on principles we've only recently discovered. It's like they were hundreds of years ahead of us, maybe thousands." Lisa had been studying the chamber's walls. They were covered in symbols that looked like writing, but not like any human language she knew. "There's something else," she said. "These symbols, I've seen them before. In the alien databases the council shared with us. The writing on the walls was in the same style as the ancient scripts used by the council species. But this chamber was older than their claimed civilizations. Much older." Jake stood in the center of the chamber, trying to process what they had found. What if the council didn't develop their technology? He said slowly. What if they got it? From someone else? You mean from us? Pete asked. Think about it, Jake said. We find human DNA in 50,000-year-old ice. We find human technology that's thousands of years old but still more advanced than what the council has. We find star charts that don't match their claimed history. Lisa nodded. And their technology is based on human research papers that were written just a few years ago. It's like they're trying to reverse engineer things they don't fully understand. Amy pulled up her star charts again. If humans were in space 50,000 years ago, and if we were advanced enough to build this kind of technology, then maybe we were the ones who discovered faster-than-light travel first. But what happened to us? Pete asked. Why don't we... Remember? Lisa looked around the chamber. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe there was a war or a disaster. Maybe human civilization fell and we had to start over. Jake felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind. And maybe the council. Species were there when it happened. Maybe they took our technology and claimed it as their own. The team spent the next week documenting everything in the chamber. They found star maps that showed human presence across dozens of star systems, technical manuals written in ancient human languages, and most importantly, historical records. That told a very different story than the one the council had shared. According to the records they found, humans had been the first species to reach the stars. They had built a vast civilization that spanned the galaxy, and they had encountered 12 primitive species that they had helped to develop and advance. The 12 species that now called themselves the Galactic Council. As Jake read through the ancient records, he realized that humanity hadn't been newcomers to the galaxy. They had been the first to rise, the first to explore, the first to build, and somehow they had lost it all, but now they were going to get it back. The call came at 3 in the morning. Dr. Lisa Parker was awakened by her secure phone buzzing on the nightstand. The voice on the other end was Jake Morrison, and he sounded excited. Lisa, we found it, the big one. You need to get to Antarctica. Immediately, Lisa was on a plane 6 hours later. The flight to the research station took another 8 hours, flying over endless white ice. When she finally arrived, Jake was waiting for her with Pete Collins and Amy Torres. They all looked tired but excited. What did you find? Lisa asked as they walked through the station. Something that's been waiting for us for 50,000 years. Jake said they took her to an elevator that went down much deeper than any research station needed to go. The elevator dropped for what felt like forever, down through ice and rock, until finally it stopped with a soft chime. The doors opened to reveal a corridor that took Lisa's breath away. The walls were smooth and metallic, glowing with soft light. The air was warm and clean, and everything looked like it had been built yesterday. We found it by accident, Pete explained as they walked. One of the ice drilling teams hit something hard about 3 miles down. When we investigated, we found this. The corridor led to a massive chamber filled with technology that made the Alien Council's equipment look like toys. Computers that seemed to be made of light itself, power sources that hummed with energy, and displays that showed star maps covering the entire galaxy. It's a command center, Amy said. But it's been running for 50,000 years. Lisa walked to one of the displays. It showed real-time information about star systems across the galaxy, including detailed reports on the Council species' activities. This has been watching them this whole time? Everything, Jake said. It's been monitoring the entire galaxy, waiting for the right moment to activate. In the center of the chamber was a chair that looked like it had been designed for a human. Lisa approached it carefully, and as she got closer, lights began to flicker around the room. A voice spoke clear and calm. "Welcome, Dr. Parker. I have been waiting for you." Lisa jumped back. "Who's there?" "I am the archive," the voice said. "I am the keeper of humanity's true history. I have been waiting for humans to advance enough to find me and learn the truth." Jake stepped forward. "What truth?" The air above the central chair shimmered, and suddenly they were surrounded by moving images. They showed a galaxy full of human ships, human cities on distant worlds, and human scientists working alongside primitive aliens. 50,000 years ago, humanity was the dominant species in the galaxy, the archive said. We were the first to develop faster-than-light travel, the first to build interstellar civilization, the first to explore the farthest reaches of space. The images showed humans teaching alien species how to use tools, how to build cities, how to travel between stars. The 12 species that now made up the council were all there, learning from human teachers. We found them on their homeworlds. The archive continued. Primitive creatures barely past the Stone Age. We gave them knowledge, technology, culture. We raised them up to be our companions in exploring the galaxy. Lisa watched the images in amazement. We uplifted them? More than that, the archive said. We treated them as our children. We gave them their own worlds, their own fleets, their own governments. We taught them everything we knew. The images changed, showing the council species growing more advanced, building their own ships, establishing their own colonies. But there was something else in the images now, something darker. What happened? Pete asked. They began to resent us, the archive said. The images showed secret meetings between the council species, angry discussions, and finally, planning for war. They claimed we were holding them back, that we were tyrants who kept them dependent. They formed an alliance against us. Amy watched the images with growing horror. They betrayed you? They used our own trust against us, the archive said. We had no reason to suspect them. They were our students, our children. We had given them everything. The images showed the war that followed. Human colonies across the galaxy came under attack. The council species used weapons and tactics that humans had taught them, turned against their teachers. The war was swift and brutal. We were not prepared for war against our own children, the archive said. Most of our colonies fell within. A year billions of humans died. Lisa felt tears on her cheeks. What about Earth? Earth was the last to fall, the archive said. A small group of humans managed to escape the final attack. They built this facility and others like it, then went into deep sleep, waiting for humanity to grow strong enough to reclaim its heritage. The images showed the aftermath of the war. The council species took over human colonies, claimed human technology as their own, and began to rewrite history. They destroyed evidence of human civilization and created the fiction of their own ancient greatness. The Great Awakening they celebrate, Jake said. That was when they stole the last of our technology. Yes, the archive said. They divided up our knowledge and claimed to have discovered it independently. They created the myth of 12 species all advancing at the same time to hide the truth. Pete was studying the technical displays. All their technology is based on human designs. That's why I recognized the patterns. They never truly understood what they stole, the archive said. They have been trying to reverse engineer human technology for 50,000 years, but they are missing the fundamental principles. They can copy, but they cannot innovate. Lisa looked around the chamber. Why didn't you wake up the sleeping humans before now? Because humanity needed to rediscover its greatness naturally, the archive said. The humans who went to sleep knew that their descendants would need to be strong and independent when they learned the truth. You had to develop your own technology, your own civilization, your own strength. Amy was studying the star charts. Are there other facilities like this? Many, the archive said. Across the galaxy, hidden on worlds that the council species never found. Each one contains knowledge, technology, and evidence of humanity's true history. Jake felt a fire burning in his chest. How many humans are still in deep sleep? Thousands, the archive said. The greatest scientists, engineers, and leaders of the ancient civilization. They are waiting to be awakened when humanity is ready to reclaim its place in the galaxy. Lisa looked at her friends. What do we do with this information? We prepare, Jake said. We learn everything we can, and then we show the galaxy who really came first. The archive's voice grew warmer. You are ready, Dr. Parker. All of you are ready. The council species have grown weak and complacent, ruling over a galaxy they never earned, but humanity is strong again and growing stronger. Pete was already examining the technology around them. How long will it take to understand all of this? Not long, the archive said. The knowledge is here, waiting for you. Human minds designed this technology. Human minds will master it again. As Lisa stood in the chamber, surrounded by the technology of her ancestors, she felt something she had never felt before. Not just pride in being human, but a sense of destiny. Humanity had been the first to reach the stars, and they would be the first to reclaim them. The galaxy had forgotten who really built its civilization, but they were about to remember. The news spread through Earth's military and scientific communities like wildfire. Within weeks, every major government on Earth knew the truth about humanity's ancient heritage. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Commander Jake Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's new deep space fleet. The ships were built using technology from the archive, and they were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the Council species possessed. Dr. Lisa Parker found herself leading teams of scientists to hidden facilities across the solar system. The archive had given them locations of dozens of ancient human sites, each one containing more evidence of humanity's true history. On Mars, they found the ruins of a massive city buried under the polar ice cap. On the moons of Saturn, they discovered research stations that had been monitoring the galaxy for 50,000 years. Each discovery brought more proof that humans had been the galaxy's first spacefaring civilization. The evidence was overwhelming, and it was impossible to ignore, but the most important discovery came when they found the sleeping humans. The facility was hidden inside an asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. When Lisa's team entered the chamber, they found thousands of humans in deep sleep, preserved perfectly by technology that defied understanding. These were the survivors of the ancient civilization, the greatest minds of their time, waiting to be awakened. Dr. Elena Vasquez was the first to wake up. She had been the commander of the ancient human fleet, and she had lived through the war that destroyed their civilization. When she opened her eyes and saw Lisa standing over her, she smiled. "How long?" she asked. 50,000 years, Lisa said. Elena sat up slowly, her body adjusting to being awake again. "And humanity survived?" "We survived," Lisa said. "We grew strong again, and now we're ready to take back what was stolen from us." As more of the ancient humans awakened, they shared their knowledge with the new generation. They told stories of the galaxy as it had been, when human ships traveled between the stars and human colonies thrived on distant worlds. They spoke of the Council species not as ancient rulers, but as primitive creatures that humans had lifted up from ignorance. Engineer Pete Collins worked day and night with the ancient human engineers. They showed him technologies that made the Council's equipment look like stone tools. Within months, Earth's industrial capacity expanded beyond anything that had ever existed. Factories built in space began producing ships and weapons that could match anything the galaxy had to offer. Navigation Officer Amy Torres, now promoted to Fleet Navigator, worked with the ancient star charts to locate every human facility that still existed. They found installations on hundreds of worlds, all of them still functioning, all of them still watching the galaxy and waiting for humanity's return. The most shocking discovery came when they reached the homeworlds of the Council species themselves. Every single one of them was built on the ruins of ancient human cities. The Zephyrian capital was constructed around a massive human facility that was still providing power to their entire civilization. The Chronari had built their government center on top of a human research station. The Veilter floated their cities above human ruins they had never bothered to explore. The Council species had been living off humanity's achievements for 50,000 years, using human technology they barely understood and claiming credit for human accomplishments they had never earned. Admiral Morrison led the first expedition to reclaim a human colony. The world was called New Terra, and it had been one of humanity's greatest achievements. The Council had renamed it Zephyr Prime and claimed it as their most important colony. When Morrison's fleet arrived, they found a world that was struggling The Zephyrians had been trying to maintain human infrastructure for 50,000 years, but they didn't understand how it worked. Power systems were failing, environmental controls were breaking down, and the population was declining. Morrison's ships descended through the atmosphere and landed at the old human spaceport. The facility recognized the human ships immediately, and ancient systems came online that had been dormant for millennia. The spaceport's lights blazed to life, and automated systems began preparing for the humans' return. The Zephyrian governor met them at the landing pad. He was tall and elegant, made of living crystal like all his people, but he looked nervous. "You cannot be here," he said. "This is Zephyrian territory." Morrison stepped forward. "This is New Terra, established by humans 50,000 years ago. We're here to reclaim what was always ours." The governor's crystal form flickered with agitation. "That's impossible. The Zephyrians have been here for thousands of years. This is our homeworld." Dr. Vasquez walked up beside Morrison. She had been the original commander of New Terra, and she knew every stone of the planet. "I built this city," she said calmly. "I designed these buildings, planned these streets, and chose the location for every structure you see. This is my world, and I'm taking it back." The governor stared at her in shock. "You're lying. Humans are newcomers. You have no history in space." Vasquez touched a control panel near the landing pad. The entire city responded to her touch, lights blazing brighter, systems humming with renewed power. Ancient human technology that had been barely functioning for 50,000 years suddenly worked perfectly again. "The planet recognizes me," Vasquez said. "Every system, every building, every machine. They were all built by humans, for humans. You've been living in our cities, using our technology, breathing our air, and you never even knew it." Word of the humans' return spread across the galaxy faster than light. Species that had been oppressed by the Council for millennia began to remember old stories, ancient legends about teachers who had come from the stars. Many of these species had human DNA in their genetic code, proof that the ancient humans had helped guide their evolution. The younger species began to revolt. They had always wondered why the Council's technology seemed so limited, why their oldest records all dated to the same period, why they claimed to be ancient but acted like newcomers themselves. Now they had their answer. The archive broadcast the truth to every inhabited world in the galaxy. The message included genetic evidence, historical records, and most damning of all, the original design specifications for every piece of technology the Council claimed to have invented on Earth. The ancient humans worked with the new generation to prepare for what was coming. They knew the Council would not give up their stolen power easily. There would be war, but this time humanity would be ready. Merle Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the fleet of human ships gathering around Earth. Each ship was a masterpiece of technology, built with knowledge that had been accumulating for 50,000 years. The Council had grown weak and complacent, but humanity had grown strong. Dr. Lisa Parker joined him at the observation deck. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. Morrison smiled. "We've been ready for 50,000 years. We just didn't know it." The galaxy had called Earth a newcomer, but the truth was finally revealed. Humanity had been the first to rise, the first to explore, the first to build. And now they were going to be the first to reclaim what had always been theirs. The real war was about to begin. The war began when the Council tried to destroy the evidence of their crimes. Zephyrian ships attacked human archaeological sites, trying to eliminate proof of ancient human civilization. Chronari forces moved to capture the awakened humans, hoping to silence them forever. The Veilter attempted to jam the broadcasts that were revealing the truth to the galaxy. It was a mistake that cost them everything. Admiral Morrison's fleet was ready. The human ships moved with speed and precision that the Council had never seen before. Within hours, every Council attack was stopped. Their weapons, stolen from ancient human designs, were useless against the people who had originally created them. Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as Council fleets retreated in confusion. Their ships were breaking down, their weapons failing, their computers crashing. The ancient human technology they had stolen was turning against them. How is this possible? Came a desperate transmission from a Zephyrian commander. Our weapons are more advanced than yours. Morrison smiled. Your weapons are our weapons. We built them 50,000 years ago. Did you really think we wouldn't know how to turn them off? Across the galaxy, the younger species rose up against the Council. Armed with proof of the Council's lies and supported by human technology, they fought back against 50,000 years of oppression. The Altarians, who had served as the Council's messengers, turned against their masters. The Helix people, who had been forced to mine resources for the Council, seized control of their homeworld. Dr. Lisa Parker worked with representatives from dozens of species to establish the Truth Commission. They documented every lie the Council had told, every piece of technology they had stolen, every species they had oppressed. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. The Council tried to fight back, but their technology was failing them. Ships that had worked for thousands of years suddenly stopped functioning. Weapons that had enforced their rule for millennia refused to fire. The ancient human systems that powered their civilization were shutting down. One by one. Dr. Elena Vasquez led the assault on the Council's main stronghold. The ancient human commander had spent 50,000 years in sleep, dreaming of this moment. Her fleet approached the massive station where the Council met, the same station where humans had been dismissed as newcomers just months before. The station's defenses were formidable, but they were built on human technology. Vasquez knew every system, every weakness, every backdoor that her people had built into the design. Within minutes, the station's shields were down and its weapons were offline. Engineer Pete Collins worked with the ancient human engineers to restore human colonies across the galaxy. On world after world, they found human cities buried under alien settlements. The technology was still there, still functional, still waiting for its creators to return. The most dramatic moment came when they reached the homeworld of the Zephyrians. The entire planet was powered by a massive human facility that had been hidden beneath their capital city for 50,000 years. When the humans reactivated the facility, the Zephyrians realized the truth about their entire civilization. Hi. Arbiter Zelana stood in her crystal palace as the lights flickered around her. The humans had taken control of the power systems, and she could feel her world changing. Ancient human technology was awakening, and her people's stolen glory was crumbling. Admiral Morrison materialized as a hologram in her throne room. Hello? Zelana, I think we need to talk. The crystal being's form flickered with anger and fear. You cannot do this. The Council has ruled for 50,000 years. We are the elder species. No, Morrison said calmly. You are thieves and murderers. You killed the real elder species and stole their place. But we survived, and now we're taking back what was always ours? Around the galaxy, the truth was spreading. Every species learned that the Council had built their civilization on lies. The humans had been the real teachers, the real explorers, the real builders of galactic civilization. The Council had been students who had murdered their teachers and claimed their achievements. The final battle took place at the original Council station. The 12 species made their last stand, using every weapon they had stolen from humanity. But Dr. Vasquez had been there when those weapons were designed. She knew their weaknesses, their limitations, their secret shutdown codes. The battle was brief. The Council's forces surrendered when they realized their weapons would not fire on human ships. The ancient programming still recognized humans as the rightful owners of the technology. Zelana was brought before the Truth Commission in chains made of her own crystal. She stood proud and defiant even in defeat. You may have won, she said, but you will never be able to prove your claims. The galaxy will never accept that humans are the elder species. Lisa Parker stepped forward with a datapad. Actually, we have all the proof we need. Genetic evidence, historical records, and the testimony of the humans who built this civilization. But more importantly, we have this. She activated the pad, and every piece of Council technology in the galaxy displayed the same message. Created by humanity, stolen by the Council, returned to its rightful owners. The message appeared on every screen, every display, every communication device that used the stolen human technology. Billions of beings across the galaxy saw the truth at the same moment. Morrison stood before the assembled representatives of hundreds of species. "The Council called us newcomers," he said. "They dismissed us as a young species with no history in space. But we were here first. We built the ships you fly, the computers you use, the weapons you carry. We taught your ancestors to reach for the stars." He paused, looking at the faces around him. "We don't want to rule you. We never did. Our ancestors' dream was of a galaxy where all species could grow and explore together. The Council destroyed that dream, but we can build it again." The new galactic government was established on principles of cooperation and shared knowledge. Instead of the Council's system of hoarding technology and oppressing younger species, humanity shared their rediscovered knowledge freely. Species that had been held back for millennia began to advance rapidly. The former Council species were not destroyed or enslaved. They were given the same chance that humanity had once offered them, the opportunity to earn their place in galactic civilization. Through honest work and cooperation, some, like the Altarians, accepted this chance and worked to make amends. Others, like the Zephyrians, retreated to their homeworlds in shame. Morrison returned to Earth a hero, but he was more interested in the future than in glory. Standing in the same room where the Council had once dismissed humanity, he looked out at the galaxy that was finally free. Amy Torres joined him at the observation deck. "It's hard to believe it's over," she said. Morrison shook his head. "It's not over. It's just beginning. Our ancestors dreamed of a galaxy where all species could reach their potential. Now we have the chance to make that dream real." The galaxy had learned the truth. The newcomers had revealed themselves to be the first to rise, and in doing so, they had lifted everyone else with them. Humanity had reclaimed their heritage, but more importantly, they had reclaimed their purpose. The stars belonged to everyone now.